Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Felix here from the Heart Centre. I just want to wish you a very lovely, lovely, lovely July to come. Um, yeah, it's been a month, hasn't it? It's been pretty intense. Um, and yeah, I just hope you've all been well, not too shook up from the solstice. And yeah, we're going to get into it today. So just a couple of things before we get started. The first thing we've got Self-Care Monday on the 7/7 Gateway. That's going to be at 6 p.m. UK time. There will be a recording. It will go out on my YouTube as usual. So if you are wanting to join, just go to my website at felixhyde.com, www.felixhyde.com, and you can RSVP if you want to join in on the live. And the second notice is I'm going to be at the Healing Weekend it's near Glastonbury. I'll leave a description. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'm going to be doing pay as you feel in session, in-person session, sorry. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous festival. If you want to go down there and camp, you can. You can also book a hotel close by. It's not far from Glastonbury at all. Um, and they've got a deer on the land as well that you can feed because the place is actually an animal sanctuary most of the time. And the Healing Weekend is such a gorgeous event with so many lovely people. There's a big healing tent where people do donation-based healing, which is the one that I'll be in. Um, so yeah, if you wanna come on down, I'll leave the link below, and then you can, if you want to get a session in with me, we work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then go home on Monday. So yeah, there's 3 days, 3 days of opportunity to come and work with me, or any of the wonderful healers that are down there as well. Um, so yeah, it's a really amazing event, really friendly people, great food, great animals. Yeah, all kinds of lovely. So right, let's take a look at this energy report today, because so much has happened. Um, Obviously, last month we were looking at the takedown of the Black Cube Matrix. We were looking at the takedown of the Yahweh Matrix, and the recoding of the first dimensional field. Subsequently, yeah, first dimensional, second dimensional, which systematically opens out and recodes every field from now. But there are different things that will kind of break down along the way. Now, the big thing that kind of obviously I went to the second Stargate of the world, which links into the second dimensional field, the sacral chakra, the lower emotional body. And this area has been heavily targeted with all kinds of things. So it also governs the elemental field as well. The elemental field can or does control the third dimensional reality. With the elements, they can be manipulated in magic to kind of birth or manifest whatever is being kind of intended to do so. Now, this is the interesting thing because connected in with the Black Cube Matrix and the second dimensional field is something called the Baphomet network, which also connects into the Eye of Sauron, which we looked at last month as well. Um, Now, this Baphomet network is a major player for the Cabal agenda for the Dark Magicians. And this network originally kind of started out with, well, it didn't originally start out with, but it was kind of amplified by the Knights of the Templar who used to kind of use sodomy to kind of project energy into the Baphomet. Now, the Baphomet itself is a dark mother network. Let's just raise up some protections around there as well, but before we kind of go in too deeply into this. So she is, or the Baphomet is portrayed as both male and female, but typically, actually, it's a dark mother network and is used to birth shadow beings, so negative lunar consciousness into the elemental field. It runs through the elemental field and also runs through the second dimensional layer. And this is to basically kind of birth shadow beings into connecting with the black magicians to essentially amplify their magic to bring their own manifestation into a much more powerful play. Now, as it's linked in with the elemental fields, it's also going to kind of have a sway within the collective reality. Now, the interesting thing about this, let me just get my notes up. This field essentially manipulates the Cathar element in the planetary light body, so the feminine aspect of it. Now, it's linked into all of the second dimensional gates, and naturally, as I went to the second dimensional gate, we went through a big. I went through a big update whilst I was there, which I'll talk about in a bit. But this Baphomet network essentially is a big power source for operating the negative system and the black magic agendas and all of these kinds of things. So as this was starting to phase out or deconstruct, let's say, it was more so than a kind of deconstruction because it wasn't, in some parts, it was almost like it was kind of popping open and almost like imploding on itself. So as I was kind of observing this beforehand, before actually going over to the States, because it connects into multiple different locations. There are many hubs of this network, and they kind of loop through into different junctures in the AI overlay grids as well. The network itself fundamentally disintegrating, dissolving, and imploding on itself, draining the power from the negative system, which, as the second dimensional field is going through this recode, this update, which now we're moving into the third, fourth layer of that, we've got the claiming back of the territory where this was kind of running through, but also a reclamation of the elemental field, which has been syncing up with the Aurora network, which is a Christic light race, and re-encrypting or recoding and updating organic Christic light into the elemental compositions. Now, down the line, this has had a major power play within the elemental field because the elemental structures have been able to realign themselves to a lot higher vibrational pathways, which what I saw was it was kind of there's kind of like a light hierarchy. There's a light hierarchy and a dark hierarchy within everything anyway. But the light hierarchy essentially was restoring its power from the base up, delineating out artificial intrusion in the elemental field, which was then reclaiming the power for I guess, like the kind of the Fae King, the Fae Queen, as a kind of example. And then the light aspects of these elemental I'm just going to call them like the elemental king queen sort of structures. There will be a better name for this when I kind of sit with it and pull more information on it. they're basically kind of reclaiming their territory, reclaiming their power, and being able to kind of govern with a power structure very similar to like how we are operating at the moment. So we've had the Cosmic Mother coming in maybe about 2 years ago, and systematically she's become stronger and stronger and stronger, and the flows of divine feminine energy have been coming in. This has been rehabilitating and rebalancing our power system. We're also seeing the same thing going on within the elemental field. So every realm, every kind of I don't even know what the right word is for this. I'm just going to say demographic. So every kind of like spiritual race, every kind of light structure is kind of realigning itself and pulling back its power. Now we're getting into the elemental fields of it. This is then updating the kind of underpinning undercurrent that kind of everything is kind of creating or influenced from the creation of. So the all of the elemental compositions are kind of shifting, changing. Then the races within that are shifting and changing, which is realigning the light imprints back to pull the reality structure back into a more harmonized, coherent, light-based vibration, which is beautiful. It's really nice. It's such a magical thing to witness and go through. Because fundamentally what this means is that we are so close at pulling back all of this power to ourselves. It's obviously it's a gradual process as it continues to update itself. The next load of information has to be unraveled and undone in order for more light to move in, which we kind of saw over the solstice, which I'll get into later on. So this deconstruction of the Baphomet network has fundamentally been one key player, one key aspect that has led again down the line over the course of the month into deep foundational healing, the ability to get deeper into our foundations. And this is what I noticed after coming back from the Stargate, which I'll get into after we go and look at the Stargate. Bear with me. I hope you all really enjoyed the sun as well over the past, I think it was like 2 weeks ago or a week, or maybe, yeah, probably about 2 weeks ago. That third week from the 14th leading back up to the 21st, it was gorgeous weather in the UK. It was really, really nice. Felt like we actually brought back a bit of Florida into the UK, to be fair, which was really lovely. So looking at this Stargate situation, I was basically connecting in with a Stargate probably about 3 weeks before leaving for the States. And the original communication started with me projecting into the gate and then communicating with these emerald faces. So as we kind of dropped into the gate, the emerald faces felt very familiar. They felt very friendly, felt like they were connected to the Emerald Order as well. But there was a transference of coded information that was coming into me, or that I was becoming aware of actually, related to this kind of gate site. So that was the kind of first initial experience of just understanding what it's like, or why I'm kind of going in there. The next phasing happened when we actually got to the States and we started to drive from Orlando down to Miami. Which was about a 4.5 hour drive, and I basically kind of sat in meditation the whole time on the way down. So when we were kind of driving down there, let me think, the communication got a lot more tangible. So it was as if I was kind of projected into the gate. So we're looking more, so it started off before as more like a bilocational state of consciousness. This time it became more of a translocational state of consciousness. And when I was kind of taken in there, it was like my reality around me began to shift, and change to match for my vibration to match the Stargate. And what happened in that space, there was a downloading of equations, coordinates, and key codes in real time. And I was basically shown what it's like to kind of go into a Stargate. So as we kind of like walked into it, the space around began to departicularize and change form. Almost felt as if I was being taken through a wormhole, or kind of within, yeah, like a kind of wormhole space. And every time I was kind of connecting in, more and more of it felt like I was looking at little stages of what happens, or I was experiencing little stages of what happens with connecting into a Stargate or going to a Stargate. Um, so as I was kind of experiencing this, and I was downloading the memory of, or remembering the memory of what it's like to kind of go through these gates, um, and feeling it almost feels as if like the body kind of just, it's not like the body melts, it's like the world around you changes, which then takes me into kind of Miami, where fundamentally Miami, I found the energy there, I found really hard. I found it was a ripe Baphomet nest, um, because the information was so painful towards women. There was the information that kept on coming up was stuff around the porn industry. It was coming up around the mistreatment of women. It was coming up with the beauty standards, the unrealistic beauty standards that they all have to maintain there. And then there is the kind of financial kind of mindset that kind of goes on in there. So it was a lovely city. The beaches were gorgeous. It was just very uncomfortable to be in there because the pain of the feminine consciousness was, it just felt very distorted. So after about 3 days of being there, it started to actually settle down, processing it and understanding what's been going on, and then seeing where these hub points of kind of the Baphomet network and the different grid locations were kind of pointing out to me what's going on there and how it's being siphoned and how much pain is being held within the land. There was a goddess, a sea goddess called Alanya that came in, and effectively what I saw was this emerald well sat underneath Miami that was kind of blocked from flowing. The emerald well expanded and opened out and connected up just above the city, and then Alanya came in as the water element, as the sea, as I'm obviously next to the Atlantic Ocean. Um, and she washed in and intercepted with this emerald well. And this then started to flood through the whole city. Um, that was on my very first day there. So as this all started to kind of unravel and unwind, and basically unlock a whole bunch of these kind of nests, gates, systems that were kind of interlocked and kind of harboring the, it was like harboring the pain within there. This was starting to kind of unravel and open out, and then the Emerald Well started to kind of fluctuate all the way through the city and the network, which then expanded into different parts of the world as well and opened out. So it felt very much like a kind of I don't want to say an Emerald Heart Network point, or I feel like it could potentially be, but at the moment it was just like a kind of treasure trove well of emerald consciousness that had been kind of shut down and then weaponized upon with the Baphomet network, which would make sense because wherever there is divine feminine, emerald order, kind of mother consciousness, the Baphomet network would be aiming to kind of manipulate that and distort that. So that was effectively kind of opened out and went through a big clearing. The energy of it is still quite like full on as I recall it. Okay, okay, so from there we then actually drove over to Sarasota, which is where the second Stargate is. And if anybody is thinking about going anywhere that is remotely spiritual in Florida, or they are remotely spiritual, Sarasota is a must. Absolutely amazing, 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 really, really chill kind of city. I don't know if it's a city or a town, because it's quite small, quite quiet, very, very peaceful. And yeah, so when we kind of drove over there, again, I was kind of connecting in with the gate, and then we actually got directly to the Siesta Key, which is the beach where the Stargate is held. The Siesta Key, the closer and closer you drive, the more the vibration you start to feel, and then actually when you get there, it's like your whole body just starts to expand. It's incredible. The beaches are made of quartz crystal, so you've got that kind of added high vibration just kind of going on the beach in of itself because it's made of crystal. And then you've got this big, it's like a big vortex. So apparently every Sunday, which was the day that we went on, everyone from the town all gets together and does like a drumming circle on the beach as well, and they have like an offering center and people start dancing in the middle of the vortex. It's really beautiful and such a wonderful kind of community aspect within it as well. So yeah, so as we kind of got there, there was an invitation to go into the sea. So as soon as I stepped onto the beach, I saw the Nahasa tribes coming in, and they were just kind of very welcoming. Then the ultra dimensionals, the extraterrestrials, ultra terrestrials started stepping in, and then obviously the founders also connecting in. And it was very interesting because it was like as soon as you stepped on the beach, it was like I could see through layers of dimensions with my physical eyes. Um, and it's quite hard to have that when you're in like a dense city, but this place was so high. As soon as you kind of get there, it's like, oh wow, I can see all these things. And it's like a kind of translucent overlay upon your own reality. So I was invited to kind of connect in with the sea, and I got in the sea, and the Nohasa effectively started to train me to let the sea manipulate my body, which probably looked a little bit weird because it looked like I was doing a whole bunch of yoga in the sea and being manipulated by the water to stretch out the body. So it was like an aquatic yoga experience. Let me just check. It's still recording. Good, good, good. Yeah, so that kind of really opened out a whole bunch of a whole bunch of my physical body, to which I was then taken to the beach just to lie down in Savasana pose, where it felt like my physical body just kind of melted away. My multidimensional body was projecting out to me upwards into the sky, where I was seeing it just kind of turn inside out over and over and over again, just letting go of all of this information. I was physically feeling that happening as well, while seeing the reality around me change into different locations, different layers of light and different beings walking in and out of the gate. So what actually happens when you go to a Stargate is you don't change location, you don't go location until you've kind of achieved transmigrational consciousness. Um, the reality around you changes, and that's you bringing that next reality or the next location to you that is a vibrational match to your consciousness. So when we think about it's us having to go somewhere else, it's not that at all. It's the somewhere else changes around you to fit your vibration, which was kind of like a big aha moment for me. I was like, oh, right, okay. And that's why when we kind of connect in with vision, we don't actually go there, but the vision comes to us to teach us. So there's this idea, and sometimes even presented in kind of movies or TV shows like Charmed, when I can't remember which one of the Charmed witches was doing astral projection, but she projects herself somewhere. It's actually the somewhere projects itself to you, and you're able to walk through that realm as if you're there, but you're still in your reality, if that makes sense. Now, down the line, once the kind of the contracts and the binding with your own form to the earth and your family system is completed, finished, and done, you're then able to transmigrate your consciousness. As you change the reality, you're then able to walk through that reality into a different location, taking your body with you. That is the ascending pathway. That's what it means. That is the ability to ascend and leave the planet Earth. And that kind of blew my mind. It was, yeah, it was really interesting. Um, so yeah, that was the Stargate. So then afterwards, the connection to it was really strong, really intense. And it was like I was very easily connecting in and out of the gate and walking through it and taking myself through bilocational consciousness, sometimes in translocational consciousness states, more so in bilocational consciousness because I was having a holiday and then trying to be present with a holiday. I was kind of taken in and out afterwards where it was more real now that I had the experience with it. So yeah, this is essentially kind of what will be happening for all of us when we kind of reach that point for ascension and we've completed everything we need to complete on the earth. That's how we kind of move through it after we've kind of resolved our things and our body's not bound to the earth. We're then able to transmigrate into different different locations, different places. So that's my current understanding of it. Subject to change. Usually does down the line, maybe in a year or whatever, when we have more understanding as to how the mechanic works or if new information opens up. So yeah. So after that, we kind of moved on, went up to Tampa, and then went to New Orleans, which was essentially the spiritual experience of that was basically a big grid clear up of the French Quarter. There were a lot of kind of black magic networks running through that area. Obviously, there was a lot of voodoo that goes on over there, which there was a lot of kind of negative spirits around there as well. Speaking of that, Miami had quite a lot of negative spirits as well, and a lot of kind of demonic activity as well. So yeah, it was kind of like an all-round grid trip. The planet was just kind of releasing information to me, and then I was just watching it kind of do its thing and go back to source or go wherever it needs to go to kind of finalize. So yeah, after the trip, I connected back into the Stargate and saw it kind of the information that was kind of downloaded, uploaded. That was it as well with the Stargate. The key codes that I was holding went into the gate and then started to rehabilitate part of the gate. Um, so essentially, what this is where we've gone through genetic digression through galactic wars or whatever. Um, we hold memory of that, and after we've kind of healed it, or we hold the healing codes for that, this also impacts the gate systems that we have access to. A lot of the Emerald Order, they hold the key codes for all of the gates, and then the Gold Order hold them for a portion less, and then the Amethyst Order hold them for a lesser portion. Um, but the Emerald consciousness has it for the lot. And this basically, when you go to the gate, the codes kind of update into the gate, and this starts to rehabilitate the gate structure and the morphogenetic memory of it, which then allows the second dimensional field once again to kind of recalibrate, update, or whatever gate you're at to recalibrate and update. And my good friend Syra, who comes on my channel quite a lot, she went to the 12th gate. Probably about 2 weeks before I actually went to the States, I think it was. It was either 2 weeks or a month. So she was experiencing everything from the 12th gate and learning about the 12th gate while she was there. And I was at the second. And these two are very much intertwined because they both run through or they both have access to the Graal point because it runs through the vertical axes of the Cathara grid, the 12 tree grid. That central line goes 1, 2, 5, 8, 11, 12. That central pillar is what's called the Graal point, and that you get access all the way up. So as I was kind of tuning back into that, I was taken into the Easter Island point, which actually shot me up to the 8th dimensional field and the 8th gate. So this connected me in with Orion and Mintaka, where this White Queen was released along with her Gold Flame Solar Dragon. So this felt like a big portion of the Gold Order record. So systematically, as we've been kind of going through this deep recode of the light body with the Chris code, as discussed in the last video. I've lost my train of thought. So yeah, that's it. So as we've kind of gone through this big Chris code update, this has been rehabilitating the Diamond Sun body, which is our fully active 12-strand DNA template body, our original divine plan before any kind of corruption. Where we've gone through the destruction and the corruption of that body, this has then been opening that out. And with the Chris codes becoming active and opening and updating the light body, the Golden Sun records are being restored. And this has been a systematic kind of process. It's not just through this Mintaka event, because a lot of the reptilian consciousness that had been kind of digressed was actually from the Golden Order, from the Gold Order. It was just a kind of digressed format of that, and they kind of sealed out and hold their codes and information. But since we've kind of gone through this huge update, the reptilian consciousness had also gone through an update, which was releasing out the codes that had been kind of taken, the memory, the records, the genetic histories were being realigned and reclaimed by the organic Diamond Sun. So yeah, really, really amazing things that have been going on. So I've gone through all of those things. The next phase of this, I'm still a little bit confused about, but I'm sure it will kind of organize itself. So if anyone does have any kind of suggestions to this, this came to me whilst I was on the plane. Now, what I was kind of reminded of was the Enlil family and the flood that Enlil caused. Um, that just felt like it was kind of like an opening point to this, to be honest, because the more I kind of went into it, what I was seeing was a big fight between the negative family. So the service to self families, the kind of negative aliens. Um, so we're looking at Enki and Lil. We're looking at Anu. We're looking at the reptilians. We're looking at all the above. Um, the Enlil family. What I was kind of presented with was um, the Enlil family basically choosing to step into light. So this is a kind of surrendering of the battle weapons and choosing to go into bioregenesis. Now, typically, this has happened before, um, and then they've gone back onto the dark side, and different factions of the dark have gone back onto their dark side. They've just kind of gone with who the winning team are, and chosen bioregenesis for a kind of certain reason because it looks like they're winning, so they'd rather kind of just save themselves and go down that way. But I was presented with a scene that was like the Last Supper, apart from there was no food on the table. It looked really shit, and the environment was like a desolate wasteland. There were a set of people, like black cloaked, hooded, blacked out faces, family, and then a portion of that family walked over to the other side of the table, which was coming more into light. It's making my face hurt thinking about this now. They were effectively choosing to go into the light and choosing choosing to rehabilitate themselves. And this felt very much linked into the Golden Order records being brought back to the light, being reclaimed. So what I understand is the Odedicron, which is the Enlil race, they actually fell because the Omicron races fell first. They were kind of dragged down with them, but they didn't actually want to go. Um, and then this information basically took me back to the Lyran Wars, the original kind of fall of consciousness, the original splitting apart of consciousness within this time matrix. Um, so as we were kind of understanding that now, that last part, the link to the original fall, that basically came a lot later down the line after I'd gone through and processed because I understood the storyline that the Enlil family were coming back to bioregenesis. Um, Now, whether that is a memory or a kind of an actual thing, I think probably both. It feels like it's if there's truth in both. Naturally, the memory, obviously, but I feel like there is a part of it that's actually happening as well. Cabal members, some Hollywood people choosing to kind of jump ship last minute and kind of save themselves um, in whatever kind of stance that looks like to kind of surrender their power and undo what they've done to kind of survive basically, which none of us will see firsthand, but we may see kind of in strange scenarios or strange posts and things like that. Not that I kind of go looking for that kind of stuff anyway. Um, but we know that these kinds of things happen. I only really kind of rely on the guidance to kind of tell me what's going on now. Um, So when this was all occurring down the line, it took me back to this Lyran War scenario, and amazing Syra um, raised to my attention the origins of the victim victimizer program, which actually started in the Borger matrix. So this is a matrix that's outside of this Vecca quadrant, this universal Vecca quadrant, outside of the Weezer Vecca quadrant and the Aquarian Vecca quadrant, which makes up our tri crystal river matrix, whatever it's called. The Borger matrix, there was an original plan that there was a consciousness that kind of got infected within the Barenthasala Borger consciousness, and they ended up getting contained. Their Vecca quadrant ended up getting contained because they ended up kind of warring with each other. One side was a victim, one side was a victimizer. Then they had to do kind of rounds of it. I'll get her on to explain all of this because she explains it really well, better than I'm doing. This original victim victimizer consciousness, this archetypal aggressor behavior stemmed through there. The Borger basically kind of digressed itself so much and had to use AI to rehabilitate itself, and then became AI. That then split, ripped, and got into the Weezala matrix, which then basically took down the Weezer, and then the Weezer got into our one, and then this became a kind of a network of fallen matrices to try and take down our matrix to feed itself. So that's the extent of a big chunk of the AI history that is phasing out. We're already winning the war against the negative AI system. The more we come into love, it starts to override it anyway. The more we kind of update ourselves, we override it. But at the moment, we're just looking at the victim victimizer kind of patterning that is artificial intelligence, and it is aggressive, that went from the Borger into the Weezer, and then they funneled down through the digression and the kind of dominator storyline that came from who is the genetic superior race, the Draco reptilian or the Anunnaki. It was a fight between these two fallen races, and they went for each other, destroyed the gates, and then attempted to, and then destroyed the 12th gate as well. Whilst this was going on, the Weezer came in with the victim victimizer consciousness, and behind that, the Borger came in, seeding in this victim victimizer mindset through this massive war, which basically was a reprinting, a repetition of consciousness that came from the Borger matrix itself. If you look back to my last, my solstice video, I did a meditation on there, which basically works to open out and heal a lot of this consciousness, heal the seed point, and to open out the memories to the seed point of it. What we're looking at here is the very foundation of, maybe not the core foundation of it, because I feel like there's another layer above this that sits higher up within the God world. So within the next layer up, I feel like there's more information behind that that's then kind of governed this information of the thank you, governs the information, governs the history behind this Borger fall. What I'm seeing right now is that there is a kind of a structure above that, where there are kind of hires to that world that were playing something out and learning something that kind of caused that, and then there's something just kind of beyond that as well. So I need to kind of sit and download and understand and open that out, which I will at some point. Um, so effectively, I've lost my train of thought there. So effectively, what we're looking at here is the foundations, a big chunk of the foundational consciousness of our universal history that has come in for healing. So this leads me on to my next point. We've had since the gates being updated, the Baphomet network has been purified, updated, and recoded. We've got the foundations of our matrix, the foundations of our time matrix has gone through a very, very deep, deep reconstruction, deep rehealing or deep healing that has then opened out all of this history. And the information that's kind of come in from the gate systems being updated has downloaded the information of this. So we're gained access, I feel, from the emerald faces that came to me at the start, though I didn't really understand it until the end of the trip, and even now, to be fair. Um, what we've got here is a chain of events in order for us to really reclaim our power on all of these different levels. So we've got a a multiversal foundational healing that has triggered the initiate war in our time matrix that is linked into all of these other multiverses, the Weezala, the and R1, and the Borga, and then we've got the. If we're really looking at it, we're looking at an omniversal perspective as well, because we've got um, the higher universes or the higher worlds as well, and then that is connecting into a much more expanded set of layers, which then goes into every layer. One way or another, it goes into every layer because the omniverse is interconnected on all levels there, um, which just kind of just blowing my mind right now as I'm seeing it all kind of presenting with me, and it feels like I've got parts of me within all of this, and but then that would be because of being the experiencer. As you go into the meditation, you experience everything and you understand everything from the fractal expressions that you're putting yourself into and connecting into the memory of. So it does feel like a lot. It's just a bit much for the brain to kind of comprehend at 10 o'clock in the or quarter to 11 in the morning on a Friday. So as we were. So this foundational healing, this foundational restructuring has then also been triggered again through the solstice events that happened with America, Iran, and Israel. The initiate response of that is we're looking at the Israel-Iran presentation of, oh shit, we're going into war kind of thing, and then America dialing it up, even though there's a big, big story behind that that I'm not going to get into right now, other than to say that it was a point of healing, that everything has kind of been triggered for us to go through, heal our own galactic history, heal our own personal history if we've had kind of warlike upbringings where parents have divorced and it's got real nasty or messy, or maybe we've gone through abusive encounters in our youth, or bullying and things like that. That necessarily will also be kind of triggered up. But fundamentally, this is a big shaking up of the foundations in order to kind of bring in so much more light into your own field. It's to kind of reclaim power and work through the areas where you really are kind of avoiding. And on the negative side of that, through the game that they were playing was to kind of pull in this Armageddon timeline, which they don't have power to do. The Armageddon timeline, or I think it's called the Armageddon timeline, effectively is kind of based upon wars, based upon kind of the media dialing up terror. And that is using your own empathy, using your own emotion to sway your opinion and to mind control the consciousness into states of fear in order to it's like a big harvest point to harvest your energy, and throw you off guard, basically. Now, the ones who haven't necessarily done the inner work, they're going to feel it, or they will have felt it the most. Um, the ones that are aware or starting to become aware, haven't necessarily done the healing but know what's going on, they're going to have more of a kind of stable ground. But then the ones that have done the work are going to be a-okay, but maybe they might have further catalysts and triggers that going into galactic history. Fundamentally, everyone's safe and fine. The presentation in the media is going to look chaotic because that's a third dimensional reality. So what you're seeing in your physical environment, unless you have higher dimensional consciousness awareness, it's going to look like a shit show, and it's not going to be fun. Family members may lose their minds over these kinds of events, these kinds of scenarios. The ones who are aware are the anchor points for light and safety and security, and are able to kind of support those that are in fear. So they act as a kind of a base anchor point. Now, when all this event kind of kicked off, what I was seeing was a huge like grid clearing, a grid update, and just kind of reconstruction of everything basically, which was after the chain of events and when everything kind of went into ceasefire and security. What we there was like a kind of peace sensation that kind of took over then, and then all the light codes started to come in, which was then bringing in a sense of bliss, a sense of love into the areas which were holding the most fear, the most pain. So we had this conflict of emotion of kind of love coming in, but fear and grief coming out simultaneously, which was creating like a kind of a bind of the consciousness, or like a double bind of information, creating confusion and all kinds of things. But as you kind of understand this and learn how to process it, you'll just learn that this is new levels of polarity integration. So as you kind of have gone through something scary or horrifying, you've got all this light coming in, which starts to replace and like squeezing a big pimple. You're pushing out all the gunk out to the surface for it to be seen and then known that you are absolutely safe, held, and looked after by the divine. So yeah, that is my energy update. There's a lot of information in there, and you're all good, guys. We had a scary hoo-ha going on there, but ultimately, we're in a place now where Armageddon events cannot happen. They do not have the power to pull in these big, I don't even want to say the word of it, the destructive flying machines that destroy things. I don't even want to give power to it. So they don't have the ability to kind of to pull this off anymore, because we've shifted so far into the positive timeline now. And again, those in third dimensional awareness or lower fourth dimensional awareness, they're going to think I'm fucking nuts saying this. But in truth, we're well underway into the new earth reality, the kind of the safe world, that there is literally nothing to be fearful of. You're just being presented with triggers in order to reconstruct them yourself. But yeah, you're good, guys. Okay. So I'm going to love you and leave you all. I'm going to wish you a wonderful weekend, month to come. If you do want to come to the Healing Weekend Festival, look for the link below. Please subscribe to my new social media. I've got lots of information on there, and I've also got a Facebook page now. I didn't think I was ever going to have one of these again, but I've got one. So I will also leave a link down below for that. It's the Heart Center page where you can find information and different stuff. And on my TikTok, I'll do videos pretty much every day, discussing different topics in little shorts. And then obviously my Instagram, I've got bits of my art on there and just a bit more about what I do. Yeah, just to connect with you guys some more. And I'm just going to wish you loads of love, loads of happiness. And don't forget, we're also going to be going into Lionsgate on the 26th. So we've got a 3 week, 3 to 4 weeks of Lionsgate energy starting on the 26th of July, which will kind of wrap up at about the around the 20th, I think, 20th, 21st, but then you'll have a kind of carriage, a window after that, which will still be very high vibrational as we carry that into September. So yeah, we're in good space, guys. All right. Loads of love, everyone, and happy July. Bye.